the way that California is going with its electric vehicles and with its greenifying of its economy, it's going to impact you, the California resident or citizen, directly. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is really more for Californians. If you live in California, you may want to listen to what I'm going to go ahead and talk about here in this video. And I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Californians, at the very minimum Californians, every family in the US should have one of these. But Californians, at the very minimum, go purchase a small generator. One that can power your essential appliances. Because you are going to need it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to need it. I'm not being facetious, I'm not being sarcastic. I am being 100% truthful in what I'm telling you. But I'm going to show you what I'm looking at, and then from there you can draw your own conclusion and make the decisions that better suit you. Here it says California admits that grid is at risk amid push to greenifying its economy. In an upcoming bond offering, California listed several risks that could have adverse impacts on its economy. Besides the health crisis, wildfires, increasing debts, and cybersecurity threats, what we found fascinating was that the risk to the state's power system. Right? And they're talking about their electric power system. And although here they're talking about the economic impact that is going to have on the state, what I'm talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, is the impact that it will have on you and your family personally. Alright, so go get a generator. Do a little bit of research and do what's best for you. But in my opinion, every single family in California ought to purchase a generator. It can be a gas generator, a propane generator, or a dual fuel. It can be a nice solar generator, but then you'll have to have a good amount of solar panels. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, because what California, in my opinion, is doing is the same thing that Germany did. However, they're leaving out one important factor. Right? They're leaving out one very important thing that Germany actually did not leave out, and they were able to save themselves this last winter here, last January or February. And we'll go into that shortly. But let's go ahead and read on. The future fiscal impact of stresses to the energy grid caused by climate is difficult to predict, but could be significant, the state said. In recent years, California has taken on numerous steps to increase resiliency to be better prepared to meet the state's electrical demands. And we all know that in addition to all of the problems that they're having with the weather, with everything else, that they are now having to shut down dams, having to shut down their turbines and dams that actually produce power because there's not enough water in the dam to power the turbines. So that's just another thing that they have to add on to the layers of problems that they're having with their power grid. The warning comes as the state is greenifying its power grid system by ditching diesel and natural gas generating sources for wind and solar. And ladies and gentlemen, as I've stated before, it's okay if a state or municipality or a region, whatever it is, it's okay if they want to go ahead and try to convert to green. In my opinion, it's not converting to green at all because of the carbon footprint that the manufacturing of electric cars, of the windmills, of the solar panels, the carbon footprint that comes about as recycling and actually caring for those systems, in my opinion, is equal to, if not larger than that of using carbon-based gases, right, or fuels. Earlier this summer, California independent system operator told residents to conserve energy voluntarily, including asking residents to change their electric vehicles certain off-peak times due to back-to-back heat waves starting the grid. So ladies and gentlemen, here's another problem that you're going to have. Here, I think it's by 2035, Governor Newsom announces California will phase out gasoline-powered cars and drastically reduce demand for fossil fuel in California's fight against climate change. Executive order directs state to require that by 2035, all new cars and passenger trucks sold in California be zero-emission vehicles. So ladies and gentlemen, they're saying right now that with only a very small percentage of the electric vehicles that are on the road in California now, they are now not being able to keep up with the demand on the grid. So if here in the next 14 years, 13 years or so, they are mandated to sell every vehicle that's new in California has to be an electric vehicle, how much stress do you think that's going to put on the electric system, on the electric grid? And also, being that they are closing down natural gas plants, closing down coal plants. Well, I don't think they even have any coal plants left, but closing those plants down that run on biodiesel or biofuels. Do you really think that the electrical grid is going to be able to hold more or less here in another 14 years when they keep taking away those things that have been proven over time to work? Those of you that have electric vehicles, you may want to purchase some kind of a small generator just so that you can use gasoline so that you can go ahead and charge up your electric vehicles, or purchase a whole bunch of solar panels, because it would take a whole bunch of solar panels. But ask yourself, how much of a carbon neutral environment would that be if you had to go out there and purchase, let's say 2 kilowatts or 2100 watt solar panels? They have to be manufactured. You know, that in itself produces a carbon footprint. They don't last forever. They eventually have to be recycled. That in itself produces a carbon footprint. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm getting at, that you are going to have an alternate way of getting electricity in your home for your everyday needs, because the way that California is going with its electric vehicles and with its greenifying of its economy, it's going to impact you, the California resident or citizen, directly. California's plans to become an environmental and socialist utopia face the harsh reality that climate volatility and green energy sources may not be as reliable as once thought. And let's go ahead and take a quick look at what happened in Germany here. I believe it was back in January or February of this year. And here it says, cold comfort. Total collapse in wind and solar output leaves freezing Germans desperate for coal-fired power. And this happened back in February, all right, of this year, of 2021. So just to cut it short, what happened is that they had a freak snowstorm that they weren't expecting, and all of their turbines, wind turbines, which, ladies and gentlemen, have you looked at a wind turbine? Have you looked at how much energy it takes to produce those wind turbines? And they don't last forever. So not only does it take energy to produce them, all right, to manufacture them, but it also takes a lot of energy to actually maintain them, and eventually their life cycle will end. And during a snowstorm in Germany, they became null and void, meaning that they would not work because they froze in place. So the same thing happened with the wind turbines. All of these solar panels that they had, they all got covered with snow. There's too many solar panels for them to go out and wipe down, so they had to revert back to using some coal power plants that they had left. And this is the problem that I see with California, is that anything that's not solar, wind, or hydro, they're just shutting down. They're not keeping them idle just in case they need them, but they just shut them down, and that's what's really causing the big problem. Here, at least in Germany, they kept those plants, I guess you can call them, that they took those plants and they mothballed them. That's what they call them, they mothballed them, meaning that they didn't destroy them, they just kept them as they were. That way, if they needed them, they could use them. California's not doing that. So whenever California runs into a problem with energy, they really don't have any alternative to turn to. And to finish this article off, ladies and gentlemen, it says that politicians who are chasing renewable energy as a means of mitigating climate change will have to soon wake up to the fact that renewable energy sometimes is unreliable energy. It would be challenging for California to upgrade its grid to accommodate zero-emission vehicles on its highways by 2035, like we just talked about, unless the grid was completely overhauled. The latest example of fragile grids is Hurricane Ida destroying 2,000 miles of transmission lines and knocking out power for nearly 1 million people in Louisiana that may not even fully be restored by the end of next week. The consequences of unreliable grid and politicians increasing EV demand is a recipe for an unreliable grid. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here trying to convince you that this is better than that, that carbon neutral is better than carbon and all that kind of stuff. I'm not here trying to convince you that. There's one thing that I'm really trying to convince you of right here is that if you don't own a generator, get yourself a generator, especially if you live in California. Because with the way that things are going in California, with all of the challenges that you already have, and especially with the power grid as fragile as it is, I mean, the U.S. power grid in itself is pretty fragile, but in California, it's exponentially more fragile, in my opinion, than pretty much anywhere else. Because there are so many people that live in California, and there are so many mandates that are being pushed through, saying you're going to have to use this by this year, and this is all you'll be able to use. When you build a house, you're going to have solar panels. Just like this, what is the California solar mandate? The California Energy Commission introduced the California solar mandate, which requires rooftop solar photovoltaic systems to be equipped on all new homes built on January 2020 and beyond. This ruling is the first of its kind in the U.S. and is leading the nation to a cleaner energy future. This initiative by the CEC aims to spearhead California's milestone goal of producing 50% of the state's energy through clean energy sources by 2030. And ladies and gentlemen, as we've seen time after time, that these renewable energy sources, now don't get me wrong, I love my solar panels. I love my solar generators. I really do. But they're not reliable all the time. In order for you to have something reliable all the time, you have to know that it will be there to work for you all the time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so get a generator. Save up, get a second job. All right, if I didn't have a generator already, which I have 2 or 3 of them, because that's how important I feel they are. And our power grid here where I live, it's outstanding. The company, the electric company that runs our power grid here, they are outstanding. I think they do a great job. Our electricity rates here are a little bit high in my opinion, but it's worth every penny because of the quality of the service that we receive from our electric company. All right, even with our power grid being as good as it is, I still have backups to backups to backups. Even though I have gasoline and propane powered generators, I still have some solar generators because I think it's important to diversify in your backup energy sources. So go ahead and go get yourselves a generator, something that will be able to power those essential things that you need in your home during blackouts. Because in my opinion, I see more blackouts coming, or brownouts really, coming to California. For those of you that don't know what a brownout is when the energy that's being transmitted to your electric line doesn't really meet the number of volts that's needed in order to properly power your devices. So in a lot of times it ends up hurting some of your electronic devices, because they also call brownout power like dirty power, right? So you're going to be facing a lot of those things. So why not prepare now? I don't see people panic buying generators in California right now. Why don't you go out there while there's still some on the shelves and go ahead and buy you one? Go ahead and learn how to use it. Make sure you take it out of the box, ladies and gentlemen, and learn how to use it, okay? Go ahead and get you some gasoline. If that's what you decided to get, was a gasoline generator, get yourself a few cans of gasoline, put some stable in it to make sure that that gasoline is going to be good for a couple of years. Make sure that you store it in a safe area. Do your research as far as where you live and where you can store your gasoline, but make sure that it's in a safe area, and you'll be good to go in times where the power grid goes down. Because you don't really get advance warning when the power grid is going down. When it goes down, it just goes down, and then you have to deal with it. All right, so go ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Again, please do your own research, because you learn much more by doing your own research than by just listening to me. But Californians, go get yourselves a generator now. Having said that, I hope you have a good day. I have another short video coming up today, and then I'm also working on the video for the freeze-dried meats that I went ahead and did. I completed my 3rd batch already, so I was waiting to complete my 3rd batch so I can show you the difference in the meats and how they came out. Other than that, remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out. If you're at that part of your preparedness plan where you are now starting to put away long-term food storage, then consider Nutrient Survival. This is the best and most nutrient-dense long-term food storage in the market. I consume this on a regular basis every day just for the nutrients because it is such a good product. Now, when I say this, ladies and gentlemen, I mean it. Feed your freedom with Nutrient Survival.